Okay.
Welcome back to the Conscious Cowboys. Here we are.
Hi from our couch again.
Hi. Yay.
Mm-hmm.
We're excited. To the yay.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Okay, so we just want to get right into what we're going to talk about.
Well, before we do, how are you?
I feel good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's good. Me too. We just came off of a fun weekend. We had Maria, one of our friends, come stay with us on Thursday night, which to have a sleepover on a weeknight always feels like
Oh my gosh, it does feel like you are adult children. Like
Yeah.
you're breaking a rule somehow.
Yeah.
And you're like, this should not be happening. We all have work tomorrow, but we're going to make it happen.
but it was really nice to see her. And then you got to go home and see your family this weekend.
Yeah, I loved it. It was this morning when I was saying bye to drive down here. I was like, hey, see you in a month. And my dad's like, that's sad.
You're not
like,
going up
"Isn't
next
it?"
weekend?
No.
Oh, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then I got to go to Big Bear with my best friend's family, which was nice. I grew up with her and I grew up with her family. So it felt like I got to be a kid again this weekend.
Dude, that's exactly how I felt. I feel like Tess and our lives are obviously like really intertwined. But when we go out of town, we have like a very similar theme on what we're doing, even though they're completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was very like soothing for my inner child, if you could say that.
Yeah, me too. I felt like we slept in bunk beds.
Oh, I just love it.
And it was just like us and her immediate family. We're snowboarding. Like we felt like we were 15 again.
Yeah.
Obviously with like adult minds, but
Which is even better.
yeah, just the activities.
If you just forget that you have to pay for stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the
Something
shitty part.
interesting that happened, guys, is the whole power for the entire Bear Valley went down.
Huh.
Like there was no lifts operating. You couldn't use your credit card to buy food or drinks, like nothing. So we were just all sitting there, like everyone was just at the bottom of the mountain hoping that a generator would kick on.
How long did it take?
Like 45 minutes.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
So you're just like in the cold, just waiting?
No, we went inside
Oh, okay.
and we just waited. And then the lights came on. Everyone cheered.
That's cute.
Mm-hmm.
Cute.
But yeah, so I think we're feeling refreshed. And we typically record like days in advance, but we needed to do it today.
Yeah, last week was just not the week to do it.
Just
It just
busy.
was not. Yeah, and mentally I feel like we just weren't there. So today I'm happy that we are after that weekend. And it's also so nice out. The light totally just shifts.
I was like,
but it's seriously like heavenly outside.
I'm jealous that we're not out there.
That lifts anyone's mood, I feel.
Yeah.
We're going to be out there in a little.
Yeah. But before we get out there, let's discuss what we had in mind today.
Okay, so
You're like, how do I present this?
well, so as in simple terms, I wanted the episode to be about like appreciation for getting older, because we had an episode about aging and it was mostly like physical attributes, which is like funny and fun to talk about because that's a part of aging too and growing older. But then I was thinking in my drive today and I was like, there's so much that I appreciate in this process of like aging that's not physical that I think would be really fun to talk about. Not only to like share with listeners to help you guys realize like things you might be missing that'll make you feel happy maybe, but also for us too, just to be like, life is like, we're so lucky to be able to grow older and experience all of it.
Yeah. And I was even thinking like, even it's the little things that we're grateful for that we'll mention. They're hidden in the little day-to-day mundane things for me. Like I'm realizing when I was writing my list of things that I wanted to talk about, I was like, this is just normal day shit. This
That's
isn't
good
like
that you have that, because I feel like mine is like they're like topics that are really expansive. Like they go
Are we
broad.
surprised by this?
No, they're just like very broad, but it's good to get a little bit more niche with it.
Well, we'll see how they compare. But I was thinking like my list isn't about, oh, now that I'm older, I'm making more money and I can go travel. Because like, yes, those things are happening, but that's not what's on my list.
Yeah.
Like it's like a deep personal thing. So
Good.
will
I'm
you kick us off?
excited. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Okay. So I know that we can both agree on this, and we talked about this beforehand, is communicating more effectively. Like we mentioned this in so many episodes, and I sometimes am like broken record, but not really, because I deepen my communication skill set as the weeks go on. I truly do.
I'm laughing because
that's in your list.
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
I know. Of course it is. Yeah.
I just feel like I make a lot of errors still, right? Like we're not perfect. And as much as we try to nail it, there's moments where you're just emotional or you're not feeling your best or whatever. And you make mistakes in communication. Like maybe how I said something to you or to my mom or to anyone was like not on the mark.
Right. I think that's manifest for you in that way. But then my mistake with communication is I don't say it.
Yeah. Like, so I say too much and you don't say enough.
Yes, I don't say enough. And then I'm regretting it later. And I'm like, fuck, I should have just said that. Like, what was I afraid of?
Well, I think the fear is to be misunderstood or to not be like fully. Where it comes from for me is like, I think I can articulate it, but a lot of times when it comes out, it's not quite.
Right. But I think that also has to do with like how people receive it. Cause it's like in my head, I'm like, yeah, that will be completely effective. Like I'm going to get my point across and then it's received completely the wrong way. And I'm like, okay, so how do I navigate out of this mess that I just created?
That's sometimes how it feels, is messy.
Yeah.
I wrote down, it's like the trial and error with it. Like cause I mess up all the time. I'm like, okay, that didn't work. How should I word it next time?
Yeah, that's good. And I definitely learn a lot from Tess because you communicate a lot more than I do. Like I am more so an observer and I always have been. So like even throughout my life, I observe how other people communicate. And that's very helpful for me for when it's my time to stand up for something.
Yeah, I feed off of you too, though, because I'm like, I was telling my mom this. We were having like a deep discussion yesterday over something she's dealing with. And I was telling her, like, you can't control people and you can't try to influence them. Like you can, but a lot of times it's not effective. Sometimes what's more effective is staying in your lane and leading by example. Mm-hmm. And so I sometimes think like, a verbal communication is awesome and that's what we're talking about here, but a lot of times it's more like you can go in other ways. Yes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. Yeah.
So I observe you and how and like what you don't say and how that's effective, and you observe me and what I do say. So there's basically a balance. You can't just like say everything. I don't think.
No, I don't think so either. But I do notice like in little things, like if I can go day to day and just even how I speak to my family, like my dad or my sister or something, that it's so much easier for me to just like speak what's on my mind versus like holding back. And I really like that. Like,
nice. That
makes me happy because when I say things and it is received, it could be received well or maybe not so well, but I'm just like, oh, why was I afraid of that? Like it was so easy to come out like saying like, it's such a nice day out versus like, or not versus, but it's just as easy as saying how nice of a day it is like being honest with that person about something that's been bugging you. And I'm like, wow, good for me.
Yeah. So Maria, the gal that I mentioned earlier, her motto that she shared with me a long time ago, and I've definitely shared it on the podcast, is have hard conversations and an easy life, or have easy conversations and a hard life. Mm-hmm. And
she said that when we were here too, when she slept over on Thursday.
Yeah. And it was just like, every time I think of that, I'm like, yes, it's worth talking about.
It truly is. And
even if you take a long time to get there.
Yes.
For example, when Philip and I, if we ever have like something that we're trying to get to the root of, if I close off and I'm like, okay, I'm just like, I just don't want to go down this path anymore. He's like, but we're not stopping until we get to the point of resolution. It doesn't mean we have to agree, but what's the point where there's nothing left to say and we both feel okay? Yeah. That's where we get to. Yeah, and sometimes it's a long road to get there. And you're like, oh my God, please, I just really don't want to talk about this anymore. But you have to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you hold resentment and you just like, you build up and it's not good. And you end up explosive later on. So you might as well just squash it here.
Yeah, I completely agree, because we were even talking about this, and I've mentioned this before, is that I did not grow up with communication like that. It was always just like, okay, like self-soothe kind of situation, which I'm good at doing that. But sometimes you also need to talk it out with people.
Yeah,
like I'm self-soothing. Like I obviously love that, but that just is my style. And then it manifests in negative ways sometimes.
Yeah, maybe it's not your style.
This. Yeah, maybe it has been. It has been.
Well, I think maybe that's what you've defaulted to, but maybe that's not actually how you would like to resolve it.
That does not call to me as much. Like it's such a pattern that I'm used to going towards, but then when I'm in it, I'm like, let's be honest, does this feel good right now? No? Okay, so let's try and figure it out. But like having to participate in behavior that's not that sometimes is the tricky part.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, if we're going back to this episode of growing older and appreciating like the things that come with it, that's part of it. It's like, no, just push past that barrier. And yeah, that's really uncomfortable to say that out loud right now, but why don't you just try it and see what happens?
Yeah, I don't think having hard conversations is ever comfortable. I think that you just get more used to going for it.
Yeah, that's basically it.
Like the fear, I think kind of always exists where you're just like, oh God, here we go. But you have jumped off that ledge before.
Yeah, and once you get going, it's not as bad. Sometimes it is as bad, but
yes.
I would say 8 times out of 10, you're okay.
But cracking the seal is the worst part.
It is the worst part.
And you just go for it.
Yeah, you just have to do it.
Oh, like I think about like how I've had to break up with someone before and it's horrible.
That is
or like
so bad.
Let an employee go or ask for something that you want more than what is existing right now. Like all of those to me register as hard conversations.
Yeah, because that's just is pretty vulnerable, I feel. Yeah. Damn. Okay, well, that's a good one.
Let me think of what else I have here. This one's kind of light and airy. The more I experience the world and myself, the less seriously I take it all. Mm-hmm. Like I realize a lot of people are just going based off of instincts, and maybe a lot of stuff that's out in the world that I'm facing isn't premeditated, or it's not something I have to have answers to. Like I don't have to take myself so seriously and the world. I can show up as who I am and be learning along the way, and it's going to be fine.
Yeah, for sure. I think we also have like, it's a lighthearted battle between taking things seriously and not so seriously.
Well, you want to do a good job, and you want to, like, I guess if we can use like our creative endeavor as an example, like you want to produce good work, what we deem as good, right? We want it to feel authentic. We want it to feel like people can connect to it. We want it to be entertaining at minimum, right? Or valuable. So there's that where you're like, fuck, I got to take this seriously. Like I have to sit down. I have to think about what I want to share, but then you have to be carefree enough to actually go forth and publish it.
Yes. Sometimes I feel like I'm more serious about like being hard on myself for not doing the things though, you know?
Elaborate.
Like I'm not, how can I explain this? Is that I'm serious about like the action we have to take towards the podcast, but then like I can be really serious. Like it's more so on myself because it's like a personal endeavor that I'm like more serious with. I don't know. Does that make sense? I don't know why I have to like, in my head, it's like separated for some reason. Because I think maybe the example that I'm thinking about of like being serious is how we don't really drink. And like a lot of people are like, oh, come on, just like have a few drinks, do whatever. And I'm like, no, I like take this body really seriously. And for my health and just like personal development, that's just not a path that I want to go down. So I don't.
Okay.
So but I don't know why. I don't know.
So do you think that you struggle with taking it all too seriously, or do you think that that's a good thing? Not that it has to be black or white, but I'm just trying to understand where you're going with that specific
example.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes I just do get hard on myself because I'm like, am I taking myself too seriously? Like, should I be out doing those things? You know, like I know within my heart, like that's just not my path, and that's okay. But then there's obviously that little voice that's like, well, maybe you should just say fuck it tonight. Which sometimes I do say fuck it and I do whatever, but you know? Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's just, yeah, I don't know. That's a hard one for me because it's like when it comes to drinking, there's a lot trending right now in the direction of not like the society seems to be taking a shift. Yeah, I'm like,
finally,
welcome.
We're not the people that are the weirdos anymore, you know?
Yeah. But I also don't want to be judgmental towards it, right? So like if my loved ones are participating in it, I don't want to have feelings about that. Like that's not really for me to feel a certain type of way about being around it, or like I want to be able to be like, no, I don't do that for personal reasons, but like I'm happy to support you if you do it. Because I don't ever want to be judgmental.
I know. I never want to be judgmental either. But then, of course, there is like that little voice that sometimes is, because I'm like, well, if someone were partaking in it too much, like, is that, like, I would only look down on that because I'm like, well, is that productive to the person that you want to be? But then in their mind, yeah, maybe it is. It's just not my path. So how could I even judge that?
Yeah. And sometimes people veer off from the path of becoming who they want to be. Like sometimes it gets tiring, or you're just like, fuck, I just need a minute. Mm-hmm. Like how people take time off of working out. Let's just use that as an example, because you're just like, my body needs to rest. I need to not push myself so hard. It could be that thing too, where they're like, well, I don't want to justify drinking because I don't know. I'm trying to put myself in someone's shoes.
Yes. That's how it's easy to not be judgmental though. It's that you try to gain some understanding as to what they're going through and their experience. And then it helps us be less judgmental.
Yeah. Like oh, that's just how they're handling something, or
yeah.
And I don't always agree with it, but like, I'm not going to sit here and criticize it.
Right. And adding that even to this list of like the amazing things about getting older is establishing understanding, or like desiring to understand someone so that we don't judge as much as we do. Because in high school, or before that especially, I was like the most judgmental bitch ever. Because like, I don't even know why, but I've had to like lighten that load now. And I have, for the most part. There's sometimes still stuff, obviously. Well, of course.
I mean, I think we all have something deep down where we're like, I don't like that, you know, and like you slip for a moment, you're like judgmental on something, and then you course correct, and you're like, what am I doing?
Try to understand, okay? And if I can't, well,
exactly.
I try.
Doesn't always happen, but we try.
Yeah, that was just like a weird tangent. Now I'm like thinking about how I couldn't, like I'm thinking about the being serious on ourselves.
Don't force it.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to, but I just have to think about that more. So yeah.
Okay. Oh, maybe pull from yours.
Let's see. Oh, so I was talking to Tess about this before we recorded, but showing more love and affection as I get older, because I, as a kid, didn't receive like a lot of affection. I mean, I don't know. It's like you only have your family to go off of, you know?
Yeah.
And like your friends, I guess. But we weren't like a cuddly family. Like I don't remember like nuzzling in my mom or like my dad like holding me ever. So I remember specifically when I was a kid, and my sister is the same way. We talked about this yesterday, is that our aunt Christy would come over to the house and she would hug us, and she like had to teach us how to hug. Like, cause we were like, get the fuck off me, you know? And I think that's like some kid reaction too, but like, she was like, no, just hold on, like get closer. Don't stick your ass out, you know, like hug on to me.
That's
like
pretty standard, but yes.
And I like it now, cause every time I hug her, she's like, you give such great hugs. I'm like, you literally taught me how to hug. But now I mean it more too. But I was telling my sister yesterday that I want to like cuddle her kids. And like, if I have kids, I want to do that too. Like always be touching them for so many reasons, because just to like show them that I love them without actually having to say it. Because I didn't receive that a lot as a kid. I'm not saying it to be like, this is so sad, but just like I've had to soften myself in that way. And I like to experience that softening. Like I feel like I was very like impenetrable a lot of my life. And now as I'm softening, I really do like it.
Yeah.
So
hell yeah, Matt.
And of course that's to say, you know, I'm still like this to a lot of people, but I don't know if that will ever change, and who knows, I'm still young and maybe it will, but I have my guards up in a lot of ways, but there's some shields that just need to come down because it's more of a hindrance than anything.
Yeah. I can't remember. I was called the Ice Queen. I don't know if it was by my mom or my ex-boyfriend, but like, I don't really know how that could have been, because I think I've always been a very like lovey person, but maybe I wasn't.
Because you are so now. Like I was telling my sister this. I was like, yeah, living with Tess like has helped me like soften a bit in that way, because she's so like, you know, touchy and cuddly.
Yeah.
But it's good because I never have had that.
Yeah. I don't know. And then I remember like someone was like, oh, the Ice Queen's melting. I'm like, how am I the Ice Queen? I honestly think I'm the biggest sap, and I cry all the time, and all I want is hugs and kisses and to be told that I'm loved. Like, I don't think that's icy, but I think that I probably had a front as a teenager.
Yes.
Of like,
Same.
I don't need that. I'm too cool.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I really deep
You're
down
like, I really
crave
care
it.
about that. Yeah. I'm just not saying it, but I need that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do I have here? Oh, okay. Connecting with your friends in deeper and more meaningful ways, especially now that our lives aren't so intertwined. Like
yes.
when you do see your friends, because it's not as often as obviously you'd like it to be able to like actually connect with them, that is something that I really treasure. And I know our lives are very intertwined, but I'm thinking
it's so
like
rare.
outside of our friendship, like when we connect with our other friends, I'm like, life force.
Yeah.
Community.
I know. I was talking because I saw my cousin this last weekend, and we were talking about how the books that we're reading, like that's a common theme throughout the books, is like a strong bond, like not familiar.
Familial.
Yeah.
Like
thank
family.
you. Yeah. That bond throughout the book, and they're not like blood family. It's just like their crew, like their tribe. That keeps me coming back for more, honestly, in the book, because I crave that. Like that's a core value of mine.
I'm right here.
Oh yeah, of course.
You're like, what is she doing?
No, I was just like,
no, I'm right here.
Yeah, but
you have a great family, and I think as you really like, as everybody ages, we all hopefully get more wise if you're open to learning new shit, right? And so you can only strengthen it from here.
Yes, yeah, and I definitely do have a great family, and also I want to strengthen those bonds. Like I had that written in mind, of course, too. And even with like the friends that I used to be closer with like a few years ago, and like you go through phases with friends, obviously, and like you get out of each other's lives for a little bit, you know, love each other still, but then you reconvene later and you're like, oh my God, again, sister, like fucking soul friend.
Yeah. And this is not the case for everybody, but definitely in my life and all of my close friends' lives, we are coming, like, I think we spent a good majority of our youth being really attached to our friends and spending a majority of our time with them. And now we're reverting back to family, and we're spending like any free moment we get, we're like family.
Yeah.
And we're like really tight with our siblings now when we weren't necessarily back then. I mean, it's always been good for me and my brother, but it's like now he's got a kid, now he's got a wife.
Yeah.
And like, because you have to carve out time when you do get there, it's more intentional time.
So true.
Yeah. So you're bonding better.
Yeah. Cause it's like, we don't have, like, since we have such little time, like I have 4 hours or 5 hours to hang out with you. Like, let's cut the shit. Let's just get straight into what we need to talk about right now. You know, like anything you want, not off the table. Let's talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really like that. Yeah. To experience also like those people on a new level, like as you age, is also pretty fucking cool.
Dude, I'm like, that's my brother.
Yeah. And I think about that, like when I watch my sister is a mom, and like I watch her, I just like literally start crying. No, but I watch her with her.
Are
kids.
you?
No, I won't. Oh. But I thought about it in the car today, and I was like, I'll fucking cry right now. And then you texted me and you're like, Missy, you can't wait to squeeze you. And I was like, I'll actually cry. But yeah, it just like is really special, because you're like, I grew up with this person, and like we were fucking tight. And I remember when she was a little girl, and now she's a mom.
It's weird to come from, stop, I'll cry. You
yeah,
come out of the same
like
household.
Yeah.
And then you're like, you live on your own household, in your own household now. And so do I. And that's just crazy to me.
Yeah. And we're making things work. Like, how is this happening?
We're doing what mom and dad did. Isn't this crazy?
Yeah. Also just have open conversations with my sister or like your family about patterns that were present in your like family unit as a child, and how we want to change that now. And I fucking live for that. I'm like, all right, let's go. Like, let's talk about this. How are we going to make like great childhood, but how can we make it even better for our kids or like those around us?
Right.
Yeah. I like that.
So fun to be able to do the work together.
Yeah. And just to hear from her perspective too, because obviously I lived with her because she was my sister, but I didn't know what was going through her mind, because I just didn't care to ask then. It was just all about me.
Yeah, but I'm
not blaming myself for that.
Yeah,
I was a kid.
Say.
Like I didn't know how to really think about others as much as myself.
You're just not as developed, and probably for good reason. Like,
yeah, I'm like developing.
You have to
and
figure
trying to
out
survive.
your shit.
Yeah, I'm like literally. Yeah.
Exactly.
Just thinking about the most trivial shit and like spending time on things that don't matter as much to me now, which again is another gift. But that's
youth. I mean,
yeah, but that's another gift of getting older too. Is just not caring. as much about things that I just don't want to care about anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then you like somehow care more about other things now, and you're just like, oh fuck, I just like switched it for this, you know?
Can you give
like
a real life
like,
example?
An example is like, oh, I cared so much about, which I do still care about this a lot. Like as a kid, I really cared about what I looked like and my outfits, for example. I don't know, or like wearing makeup outside the house all the time, which I still like am. I always want to be presentable. Like that is like a very strong thing that I hold. Like I always want to be. It's
true, guys. She looks like this every day of her life. Like every time I come out of the bedroom in the morning, I'm like, dude, she's already ready.
Dude, hell yeah.
Wow.
Well, so anyway, I really hope like that's still a value, if you could call it value. But anyway, I like that a lot. But now more of my energy is spent on like, I don't know, for example, like stronger bonds with people. Like was such a highlight as a child. Like, what do people think about me? Like, oh my God, am I the prettiest in the room? Now it's more like, okay, how am I showing up versus what I physically look like more so than what I look like.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Self-development. We love it.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah.
One I have on here is feeling confident in self and being able to recognize that bad days or bad body image days or circumstances that aren't your favorite, bad moods, any of that, that's all temporary. Because time will pass and you'll kind of get over the feelings, but also that you have the ability to change either the circumstances or your perspective on it.
Yeah, that's a fucking good one.
Because I feel that time and experience has given me the foresight of like, God, I really don't like this today. But I know that it's probably not going to matter or matter as much in a few days, a few hours, a few weeks, whatever the timeline is. You can kind of get over it. And if you can't just naturally get over it, then you have the power to change it or at minimum change your perspective on it, like do some work.
Yeah, it's so true. And luckily we have the tools to do so now. Like even as simple as like, okay, I don't really like how I look today. Like it's just an ugly day, you know, like I'm not feeling it. All right, easy. Don't look in the mirror as much. Let's go for a walk. If I get outside or I move in some way, I'm usually better. Yeah. Unless it's like something serious, obviously. But if it's as trivial as like, I look fucked up today, something's going on with my hormones, I obviously am more critical. What can I do to not be this way? Yeah. I do notice, I always know when my period is coming though. It's because I start to look at myself way more critically. It's so weird. That's happened for a lot of my life. I'm like, how do I get out of that pattern? Because it's just like so ridiculous. But I care less now. I'm like, okay, that means my period's around the corner, whatever.
Moving on.
I know that I liked how I looked 5 days ago. Like,
and not much has changed.
Yeah. And also, does it even matter? No. Yeah.
Yeah. That's an inner battle. But yeah, just being able to not let the low points affect you as heavily.
Yeah.
As you get older. I mean, obviously, again, not perfect. And there's still lots of those days. But being able to recognize like, it's just like I'm in a mood or I'm just not feeling it. And then you just move on.
Yeah. No, I like that. I wrote as one of mine, which relates to it, is just being able to adapt. Like just through experience, we know how to be more resilient and adapt to the circumstances. Plain and simple. It's fucking cool. Like I love that about humans. Yeah.
I think of it like being able to go with the flow a little bit more. But also still have some power for yourself.
Yeah. And also maybe just it has to do with like trusting yourself and trusting your path, because it's not going to matter. Like this one thing you're thinking about maybe isn't going to matter in 2 days from now. So that's okay. Or you just trust that you know you're going to be able to get through it. And that softens the load a little bit. Maybe. Right?
Maybe.
Yeah. Sometimes again, like can't say that as like a concrete answer for everything, but a lot of times I'm like, okay, am I going to care about this in like a month from now? Maybe not. And if I am, okay, well, let's figure this out right now then so I don't have to deal with it again.
Yeah. Like, okay, going back to the like physical level, I remember because I struggled with my skin a little bit, not anything super severe, but definitely like struggled with hormonal stuff.
With your skin?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Did I like not pronounce it?
No, I just was like, that was a big deal. Like when you had that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like just a little bit. I'm like, I wouldn't say that's a little bit.
It
That
was really
like
gnarly.
A serious.
Like,
that's
and
why
it lasted for like
I was wondering,
2 years.
did she say skin? Because I was like, that was really serious.
But I promised myself that if I was able to heal my skin, that I wouldn't let a blemish pop up, or, you know, I wouldn't let that affect me as heavily. And I've held true to that. And it's because I've gone through a really low point with it that I've been able to gain that experience, versus pre that skin condition. Like when I would get a blemish, it would be a big deal for me.
Yes. Same.
Who cares if you have a pimple? Every single person on planet Earth has had a pimple. Get over yourself. But
yeah.
I didn't have that perspective until I had a fucking raging rash on my chin for
and isn't
2
that
years.
always how it happens? I sometimes really loathe that fact, is that like you have to go through something in order to learn or for it to be meaningful. But that is just a huge part of life. Like that's okay. And you just have to accept it. And like you grow to love it. You're like, okay, I know this experience is so shitty and it's tearing me up, but I know that it's going to make me, I try to refrain from saying better all the time. It's not like we always need to be better, but it just is going to like fulfill your human experience even more.
Or make you wiser.
Yeah.
Is that
That's
the
why I'm
same
like, no,
category as better?
Good. Yeah. But better in whatever way you think is better. More full. I don't know. A fuller being, maybe. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. What else do you have on your list? It looks pretty exhaustive over there. So
yeah, but well,
list us off some stuff.
This is a obvious one, and it's basically the whole episode. Is I wrote finding out who I am, what I want, and what I'm capable of.
Yeah, and that's a never-ending journey.
Yeah, truly, because
like
you
don't
feel
just
on
hit
top
an
of the
age.
world, and sometimes you're in the bottom of the deep depths of the sea. Like it's just really rough. But then you climb out and you're like, all right, I'm capable of a lot. Like I shouldn't be afraid. Yeah, but that was one. Establishing my core values, letting it be my guiding force, of course. And then we kind of touched on this earlier, but like gaining a deeper understanding of things and like feeling more deeply. Like the reason why I could cry easier now is just because I feel things because of my past experiences. Like it's just like such a deep feeling. Like even if I'm reading a book and I'm crying and I'm like, look up from the page, I'm like, why am I crying? But it's because it's like you've experienced something like that and it just like hits so deep. And I'm like, oh, I love like feeling those feelings. Yeah, I do.
Damn.
I know.
Tell the people how many books you've read in the past month.
8. Dude,
it's not casual
like
over here.
800 pages. I'm proud of myself.
I know. I'm proud of you too. Every time you look at Madison, she's got the book in her hand. Like
it's true.
Pretty
it's
close at least.
Sickness. I know.
She's either on her laptop working, at yoga,
or reading.
There is no in between.
Yeah,
or in a bath reading.
Yeah, that's right. It's really interesting because, and I don't like, instead of looking at my phone, it's the book. That's basically it.
Yeah, I'm like, did you look at what I sent you? And she's like, I haven't looked at my phone in 3 days.
I haven't been on there in so long. Like seriously, I think my screen time is probably like 2 hours each day. I swear.
Dang.
It's different times. That's another thing I could add is that like doing things that you did as a kid, but as an adult and not feeling weird about it.
Oh, I was actually talking with Jessie, so my best friend's older sister. She was talking about how when she turned 30, her mission was to start doing things that she loved to do as a kid. So she took up figure skating lessons again.
Cute.
She started crafting way more. I mean, she's always been crafty, but like lots of projects happening at the same time. Chaotic, yes, but fulfilling, yes.
Yeah.
And so that just reminded me of her, where you're not alone in that. Like,
no, I really
diving back into what makes you feel youthful again.
I do like that because, and I never want to lose that because I feel like I've observed a lot of adults who have like a cold attitude towards life. And I just think like, well, maybe if you did things that like brought you joy as a kid, that you would feel like this zest for life again. So then I always keep that like in my back pocket when I need it. And right now I need that. Because also I feel like when I was a kid, I was really judgmental on myself, and I still am, but less so now. But as a kid I was, and I just kind of wanted to be an adult. So I like pushed the kid stuff away and I just wanted to be an adult. And now I'm like, okay, I've been an adult for a long enough time to know that like kid stuff is fun too. Like just like fucking off and reading for a few hours and sitting and not doing anything and productive, if you want to say that, and just being like, this is fun to me. Like it's fun to talk to my cousin about these mystical characters in this book. Like, yeah, that's embarrassing and nerdy, but like, who cares?
It's not.
But it is.
But it's not.
It's both.
What is nerdy? Right? I mean, that's the ultimate question.
It's true. It's how you define it.
Yeah.
So then as a kid, I'd be stoked to do that. And now I'm like, oh, it's come back. Or I'm like, oh, this is so fun to like talk about stuff that isn't necessarily real. You know, like it's just like a dreamt delusional world.
Doesn't it feel better though to talk about that than to like talk about other people or
oh my God, absolutely. I would
politics.
choose that over.
Like I would choose that
it's
over
so true.
those things all day.
Yeah, it's so true.
Especially the gossip end. Don't get me wrong. I love to spill the tea with my girls, but that's few and far between.
It is few and far
that's
between.
That's like the first 15 minutes and then all right, on to the next, you know, or maybe
true.
15 hours if you were there 2 weekends ago.
Yeah, 15 hours.
We spilled some tea, guys.
Dude, you just have to sometimes.
Every once in a while, I got to air it out.
Because we try to be good girls, but then sometimes
you get together, the energy just happens.
Yeah, and you're like speaking really loud. I was even telling my dad this, is that when we were walking the other day on our walk, we were showing Maria, which we were mentioning her again because
hey, Maria.
we're obsessed with you. We were showing her our walk like throughout the neighborhoods, and there's this house that we just are obsessed with, Tess and I. Like it's just gorgeous. And when we were walking by it, we were talking about the owner of it or who we think the owner is, and we're like, he's daddy, like talking him up, and he fucking walks out. And I'm like, he heard it. Because like when girls get together, I mean our girls, we talk so loudly. It's unbelievable. And I hope he heard. I hope he did hear it. And I hope it made his day, because then he walked into his other back house and he was staring at us and I was like, hi.
For reference, he's a silver fox who owns like
he's fucking daddy.
Some crazy stuff.
He does crazy property, unless he's the manager of the property, but I doubt it because we saw him walking in with his woman that one day.
Yeah. Which
good for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, and then that could add to the just not caring as much as I did as a kid.
I was going to go introduce Madison
to him
to see, he had a woman clearly, but to see if the back house was available for rent.
Yeah, I'm open to that now more so, just to like talk to him.
Because life shouldn't be so serious. Maybe he's like, mine isn't for sale, but Bob's down the street, or
I could
for
put
rent,
in a good
but Bob's
word
down
for
the street.
you.
Yeah. You look like nice girls.
We are nice.
How nice
in a lot
are
of
you?
ways.
Just kidding, guys, obviously.
Yeah.
She's not. I am.
Yeah, she's a kept woman now. I'm not.
Okay.
Oh, man. But,
so,
that is obviously, there's so many more things that we could say, but
that's
I
just
feel like
off the top of the head.
Yeah. Like, and also putting the energy out of just sheer appreciation for life, I think can do no harm. So that's why I think the episode is vital.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. Well, thanks for the great idea for the episode. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for listening, even though it was seriously hard for me to talk for the first like 30 minutes.
Oh.
Like I didn't feel like it was hard until words started coming out of my mouth and I was like, I'm just not on the mark today, but that's okay.
Well, I didn't think it was hard to listen. So I think
Thanks.
that's just
also,
you
you
being
just
in
like
your head.
get me, you know?
Maybe.
Yeah. But we'll see when I listen back. It'll be fine. I won't. Yeah. I'll try not to care as much.
I mean, I think a lot of the listeners connect with what you say because a lot of the feedback we get is in response to you. Like a lot of people are like, Madison. Hey, this is for Madison. Oh, yeah. A lot of the DMs are directed at you.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. Well, if you went on Instagram, you would know. But yeah, a lot of people connect with Madison, or like the YouTube comments where the guy wants to keep you as a cat in his window.
Dude,
he's directing it at you.
Really, yeah, that is something
What's
special.
Up? She's available to be a cat as long as it's in Del Mar.
No. I mean, yeah. No,
what if it was Daddy?
Dude, I'd have some serious conversations with him. Why are you leaving comments like that?
Yeah, that's not all right. Yeah, you got to clean that up.
Yeah, we do. That's That's not gonna happen. That's not daddy behavior.
That's not.
No. Saying daddy in it's a joke.
It's
obviously.
a playful way. We clearly don't say it. I mean, I call Philip that, but no, I'm just kidding.
Dude,
You're like, you do?
Yeah. No, I was
of
about to
course
go
not.
even further into the joke, but I was like, no. I was just also laughing at myself that I was telling my dad that I was calling this man daddy.
But
And,
he
like,
knows it's a joke. He
totally
knows us so well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I just think that's how you know it's a joke, because I'm like literally telling my dad.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Well, thanks again for listening.
Yeah, thank you. Hope
I
you
feel
guys
like we
are
say
having
it
a great week.
5 times per episode.
Yeah, we wrap it up like 5 times.
But we'll do it for real this time.
Yeah, I could think of like a million other things.
Save it
but
for
no,
next
we're not.
week. Love you
Yeah,
guys.
love you. Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.
I don't know why I did it like that.